Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live with the presenters. My name is Bhavani with Mind, Body, Spirit, as you know, and I'm chatting to our wonderful presenters who are hosting exciting workshops with us at the festival at the end of this month in just a couple of weeks' time at the Olympia, London. Right now, I'm joined by Sophie Medelin of City Dietitians, who's hosting 2 workshops with us. Thank you, Sophie, for joining me to chat to me today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We're really excited that you're joining us for the first time, right, as a
Yeah,
speaker at the festival.
for sure.
Tell us all about what you're going to be doing at the festival.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a dietitian, as my title might suggest. And dietitians are like the medical nutrition people. And I've really dedicated my career to understanding about gut health and how our gut interacts with our overall and general health, as well as our mental health. So I'm really
Mm,
excited to be able to come and talk about sort of 3 facets of gut health, really. And within my gut health workshop, I'm going to focus on gut anatomy, so everyone's really clear on what's going on inside them, because I think sometimes we're just not sure about that stuff, and science at school maybe wasn't particularly inspiring. So we're going to talk a bit about
mm,
anatomy and what's happening, and with some myth busting around what we might hear in general terms about the gut and what's happening in our bodies. I'm then going to talk quite a lot about the gut brain axis, so how our gut and our brains are communicating, and how our microbiome, so the bugs that live inside us, are all part of that story, and how we are one big amazing ecosystem. And then I'm going
yeah.
to make sure that everything's super actionable, so people know loads of things that they could be doing to
Mm,
support their gut health from both a nutritional perspective, but also like a lifestyle and holistic well-being perspective, because there's so much overlap between gut health and our general body and spirit and everything else that's really relevant to this show.
yeah. Can you chat more about that, actually? Because that might really have pricked up the ears of some of our community who are like, how does, yes, I know that that's important, but where's the link between that? And for sure, there's that very clear link between gut health and mental health. But then with regard to our sort of capacity to be more open spiritually as well.
Yeah, great question. I think the real important thing to remember is that anything that brings us peace internally and stillness is really, really important for our gut health. So our microbes love that stillness. They hate cortisol. They really want to be calm and at peace in the
Yeah.
same way that the rest of our bodies do and our minds do. And spiritualism for so many people is that point in their lives and that bit of their lives that brings them that peace, that stillness, and that sort of recognition of the wider world around them. That can also help us, that sort of spiritual practice of understanding that can also help us to understand how we live in harmony with our internal ecosystem and everything else as well. So it's
Yeah.
our, sometimes for some people, it's the spiritual practices that we embed in our lives that actually really help to also support our gut health and therefore our mental health via our gut health. So there's so many things to think about there.
Hugely important. I remember, like, the reason why I find this so interesting because, there was a time where I was dealing with a huge amount of anxiety and an awareness that it had got something more to do with my physical body and my digestion than all the other things that I was doing. Because I have, great practices that I implement into my daily routine. But I thought I'm doing all the right things, from a wellness spiritual perspective, from a physical health perspective. Maybe there's this extra level, and I started reading something called the Psychobiotic Revolution, and then really going into the sort of the science of gut bacteria and how that's impacting my mental health, how that's impacting, my anxiety, and then that has such an impact on things like being able to read my own intuition and being able to perceive things around me, not from that perspective of just trying to break through what's going on inside the body,
Yeah.
and actually increasing my sensitivity around me, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think if we think about colloquial language, for example, we talk about having a gut feeling, following our
Yeah,
gut instincts, all of these kinds of things. So historically, we've had a much better link to our gut and our brain and how much it's helping us day to day. But we've lost that, with modern medicine and how we do things now. That's been lost along the way. And I think really it's so nice to be bridging this gap with people and helping them to come back to that sense of self understanding and linking together what's going on with their gut and their brain, and trusting our gut and all of those things again, and listening to our bodies. It's so important.
yeah, super important. So one thing, again, that I think would be quite relevant for our community, especially, using the experiences that I've had, was that it can become quite complicated, and then you can get to the stage where you're like, well, if I'm actually just managing to have 3 round meals a day, that's a win. Forget all this other extra stuff. Is there a way that you're going to make it really easy for us to implement into our daily practice, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So dietitians, because we work with humans, with real people, and so the vast majority of my career was in the NHS. That means that I've got a really good understanding of what's actually practical and possible for everyday people, not what is, the ideal thing that everybody reads in books they should be doing. So in terms of making it practical, it will be very like normal food focus, your normal diet, how to embed these practices and these things within your day-to-day life, rather than it being this kind of aspirational thing that just feels completely unmanageable to busy
Yeah.
people. And I think the real key to all of my work is being compassionate to yourself and to your body and to what you are able to do at that time. And there are big chunks of our lives that we're not able to dedicate them to having the perfect diet, and that's really understandable. And it might be that you can just do these sort of nudges, these small steps towards making things a little bit better for your gut bacteria, your friends inside you, and how that can
Yeah.
impact things.
That's so nice. And it's also not just a one size fits all approach. I think a lot of the time there are these blanket statements that we receive from people, from social media, for example, but we do need different things, right? As individuals and with what we have going on with our gut health.
Totally. And I think it's really important to learn to listen to your body and to block out that noise from the world around us and those influences telling us what we should and shouldn't eat, and learn to listen more to our bodies, because so many people get stuck in a trap of feeling like I've got to eat in this particular way because, so and so on the internet told me to. When in reality, if you listen to your body, you can go, okay, body, I hear you. I hear that you need a little bit more of this or less of this. And it is about that tuning in and looking inwardly for those answers.
How long is the process of doing that? Say, we start today, we start at your workshop, we come to your workshop, which we need to let people know when that is, by the way, but we come to that and then we begin to implement these changes. How long does it take to change that whole relationship with our gut, and therefore how it's impacting our brain, how we communicate with our gut consciously, and then seeing the impact in our day-to-day lives?
Look, I think everyone's completely different, and the starting point for that journey is going to be really different. So we might be talking to people in the audience who've got a gut condition, irritable bowel syndrome, for example, something like that. And somebody who's already had like a microbiome injury and has problems with their gut health in general, it's going to take a little bit longer to calm everything down, to trust your bowel again, to trust your body again, and all that sort of stuff. And we also, a lot of people have a disordered relationship with food and their body anyway, for various different reasons, because of society and the way that we view ourselves and judge our bodies, and the shape and size of our bodies and the way that we eat and all those kinds of things. So it depends on your starting point. So if you're coming as somebody who just feels well and has a healthy relationship with food, but wants to understand a bit more and wants to tune in a bit more, then it's going to be a lot quicker, maybe just a couple of months or so. But if you're somebody who's really starting from a place of struggle, then it's likely to take a lot longer. But that doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do to start on that journey.
Amazing. So that's a really great jump off for us to talk about when your workshop is. So when can people join you?
Yeah, so I think I'm on the Sunday. Is that right? We'll have to check. I'm 99% sure it's on the Sunday of Mind Body Spirit Festival. And please do jump on the website and book in for the workshop. And you can do so via my socials as well by the end of the day. And yeah, I'd love to see as many of you there as possible. And it would be so nice to be able to answer some questions. I think people often have lots of things that they want to ask specifically related to them in these sessions. And, I'm really happy to be able to offer that face-to-face experience and for people to be in that kind of intimate environment where that's possible, because sometimes some of these things can be difficult and people can struggle. But I know that the festival provides such a nice platform for people to feel comfortable and safe to ask these questions. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's so meaningful, actually. And I'm really pleased that we're going to be hosting something like this on our platform that people can really make the most of. So thank you for taking the time to chat to me. Do you have a little tip that you can share with our community that they can already begin to implement before they join you for your workshop?
Do you know what? I think for this community in particular, a really nice thing would be to try and think about your gut as part of your spiritual practice. So listening to your body a little bit more, thinking about what's going on in there, and whether you're meditating or practicing yoga or doing whatever it might be that you implement in your day-to-day life, or you're thinking about implementing in your day-to-day life, can you involve your gut in that and talk compassionately and kindly to it and listen to some of the messages it might be sending you day to day?
Well, that's exciting. I like that. I'm going to start talking to my gut. I've never thought
Yeah.
of doing that. Yes, I talk to my higher self, or I'll talk to the version of me that I want to, move through the day with. But I've never thought of doing that. So that's a really lovely tip. Thank you. I'll let you know between now and the festival how that's gone. Thank you again for speaking to me in the community. We can't wait to see you in just a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll see you